It's Match Day Live from the 246 with host Dave.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So we've been talking about this all morning. Welcome back, and we certainly will delve right in as we welcome Shireen Goodridge-Smith, who is a Barbadian-Liberian filmmaker. Always good to hear from you. I know you were on already, so welcome back, I should say. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I know you must be very happy at where the docuseries has now reached. As a producer myself, I know that want to get involved in these productions, they can go on for years, really.
Yes. It started in 2017, and of course, we had COVID, so we had to pivot and do Zoom for some of our interviews. But it's finally here. The wait is over. And we released the docuseries on July 26th. And I'm just so excited to let the folks in Barbados know about this docuseries, because it was done not only for the Liberians, but also for our distant Bajan cousins. So I'm here to tell you all about it.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, it's just released. It's Children of Lemongrass Street, Barbadians in Liberia. And it's an historic documentary series featuring, for the first time, the collective living history of the Barbadians whose ancestors had been enslaved in Barbados and who had moved on to Liberia. Talk to me about what it took for you to be able to pull this series together across all these years, since 2017, really.
Well, it wasn't difficult. Once you started talking to one person, the word spread around. And the unique thing about the Barbadians who went to Liberia is that we remain a very close-knit group over the generations. So I'm fourth generation Barbadian descent. So we knew how to get in touch with all the families. There were 346 individuals who were on the Break Cora that left from Barbados and went to Liberia in 1865. So we went through that list and tried to catch up with descendants of all those families. And what we did, we grouped our episodes into generations. We got to the older people first, those in the 80s and 90s, because we wanted to get their stories before it was too late, when they had their memories intact, and they were so excited. They shared history that I didn't know. And people would be so pleased to learn from these older family members. Then we looked at the generation, we call them the silver generation, those who are in their 70s. And then we have another section that we call the bronze generation. These are descendants in their 50s and their 60s. We didn't want to leave the younger generation out, because we wanted to hear what are they doing. The important thing is for us was, it's not just talking about the people who came and the first generation who were very successful, but we wanted to talk about, what are we doing now? Who are we? Where are we? And so the Pearl generation is a generation in their 30s and 40s. And we didn't want to forget the younger kids, because we want them to know about ancestry. We want them to be engaged, know about Barbados, know about Liberia. So we call them the Diamond generation. And their task was to list the names, speak the names of the people who came on the Cora in 1865. So that's how we got started.
It definitely is an opportunity for us to share with our younger generations here in Barbados as well about the deep connections that we share with many African nations. Specifically today, we're talking about Liberia. And I'm happy to hear that you didn't have to necessarily trump up any support for the initiative, and people were so open to discussing it and sharing. I know there have been a lot of Liberian descendants who've been descending on Barbados over the last few years as well, trying to find out a little bit more about their roots. And I'm sure a lot of that will be shared in the docuseries as well, as those who ventured back to Barbados share how hearing about the deep connections, the names that might be the same, the customs that might be the same, how truly strong they are across cultural lines that really are fully wiped out when we think of geography, because the cultural influence has been so strong as they moved from here to Liberia, that you're still hearing and seeing so much, even as much as taking the breadfruit there and other things like that.
Well, let me tell you what's interesting. Your name, what's your last name?
Heinz.
I knew that. I looked it up. And guess what? There were Heinz on the Brick Cora who went to Liberia. Yes, there was William Heinz and his wife and 3 kids. The youngest kid was 9 months old. So you have Heinz, who maybe your distant cousins who are in Liberia. But what's all, I listened to the previous guest who was on, and I'm happy to know that the Barbadians are interested in working with the people from Africa, because even those of us who are from Barbados, originally our ancestors were from Barbados, but we're all over the world. And one of the things that we captured in this docu-series was we wanted to talk to the professionals who are there giving advice. We have scientists, we have engineers, we have physicians, we have judges, we have the first Black woman to be head of the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C., the IMF. She's a Liberian of Barbadian ancestry. She's actually, I'm exposed. She's the general counsel for the IMF. And her name is Rhoda Weeks. So she's a descendant from the Weeks family, and she's 4th generation born in Liberia. So these are the professionals that you'll be hearing about. They're talking about building wealth. They're talking about women's health, education. Every professional sector you can think about, they are represented in this documentary. We have judges, we have lawyers, we have teachers, and we are all on every continent. We found our descendants on every continent, and they are on this docu-series. From the only continent we didn't have somebody from was South America. And what I would like to say is that I was in Barbados in June for the Weeks family reunion, but we want to know, for the Barbadians to know that the Liberians, we are willing to work with you. We want to bring out our expertise. We want for us to collaborate. So it was interesting to listening to the previous guests on the show, because that's why we did this documentary. So we know there's so much talent out there, and we want to volunteer and reach out and connect. The trip that's coming up next year, that would be a great trip for everybody to get involved in. We're excited about that. And so that's what the documentary is, not only talking about our history. We have several episodes. One episode, we talk about our culture. You talk about the breadfruit. So we talk about our meals. We did a whole episode on Sunday lunch, how we do that in Liberia, how we brought some of the traditions from Barbados, and it's represented in our food. So it's an exciting docu-series. We have our website. It's called Our History TV. So you can log on your computer, go to ourhistorytv.com, and you'll be able to see every episode of the docu-series. In addition, it's streaming on YouTube. So if you went onto YouTube and you, in the search bar, you typed in Our History TV and click on the white OHT icon logo, and you'll see all the episodes. We have a playlist with all the episodes grouped together on YouTube. So everybody, please log in and watch the docu-series.
Absolutely. We certainly look forward to sharing it here on TV 8 in the very near future as well, so that Barbadians, here and across the diaspora will hear all about this docuseries. It really underpins how important it is for us to have those inter and intra-generational conversations. I'm happy to hear that you guys talked everything from, as we would say in Bajan parlance, wine to iodine. That's good stuff.
I like that. I like that.
I look forward to watching the docuseries, and once I see it, I'm sure that we will have to come back and kind of delve into the episodes and share our experiences as people who have a shared cultural past, present, and future.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having us on, and we're looking forward to come back next year to Barbados.
Yeah, how did the reunion turn out? You were here for the week's reunion earlier this year, just a few months ago, really. So how did things turn out? I know quite a few of you were here as well.
Yes, it was awesome. I was on your show too. It was awesome. We had such a great time. It was my third trip to Barbados, and it didn't disappoint. And everybody, in fact, one of the younger people, one of the young men from the younger generation, on the second day, he said, "If this was all you had to offer me, I would be pleased. I'm just happy." He said, "This is so awesome." So everybody had a great time. But what came out of that reunion was that one of the family members donated. His family donated land in our ancestral home in Crozaville, and we are now raising money to build a house that we're going to call the Break Coral House, where we're going to turn it into a museum, and we're also going to have a community center. So a lot of great things are coming out of this whole return to Barbados and return to Liberia. We want the Barbadians to come to Liberia. Look, there's nobody you want to look for. This is another thing that's important. If you tracing your family and you can't find them, and you look on that ship manifest from 1865, get in touch with me, because we're a close-knit group, and we'll be able to connect you with any one of those families, because you have the Worrells, the Ports, the Barclays, the Bradwitts, all of these names of the 346 people. We can help you find your distant cousins if you're interested.
Listen, I can think of a few people that I'm going to drag down to go look at that ship manifest from 1865. Namely, one called Al. She's in the back saying, "I wonder if any of my ancestors were on that ship." And I know there are a lot of people who are watching who are thinking along the same lines as well. So this is the start of some wonderful things. And I want to thank you, as always, for making that connection, staying true to the connection. And I certainly hope the docuseries is viewed millions and millions of times, and we're able to get together and say, next time we talk, we're organizing that trek from Barbados to Liberia. I think that's the next natural step that we have to make as well.
Excellent. And we'll be here to help you with every step of the way. Don't worry about anything. We're here to help you make your trip pleasant. I'm trying to speak Barbadian.
You're getting there. A few
Thank
more
you,
trips,
but,
a few more trips, and it should be a better accent.
Yeah. So do and even for the young, for schools, because this is something that's kid. It's general, is G rated. So we want, you can take some of the episodes for the kids to learn these things. I mean, you learn important things that you didn't know before, because I taught everybody who went on the Break Coral to Liberia came directly from Barbados. But one of the elder people who we had on the show, he's 90 something, Mr. Morgan. He talked about his great grandfather was on a ship that the Portuguese took them as slaves from Mali in Africa, and were taking them to St. Vincent as slaves. They had tricked them, and then the British warship freed them, and he ended up in St. Vincent. Long story short, he ended up in Liberia, and that's how he got to Liberia, because they didn't become slaves. They were freed by the British on the high seas, taken to St. Vincent, and later on ended up in Liberia. So you hear all these fascinating stories, but most importantly, You'll learn about who we are now, what are we doing, how can we help each other. That's very important because the people who are on there are willing to help in any way and make these connections. We want to collaborate and reach out to anybody who's interested. So the Barbadian government, I know there's some of us who are working, Lorenzo Weatherspoon working with the government. So this is the time we have to ride this wave and make it happen.
Absolutely. I want to thank you so much, Shireen Goodrich Smith, for sharing with us. We have lots and lots to think about and lots to do. A lot of the times we think of slavery as something so far in the distant past that we don't realize where it truly touches us and how close it truly is. I mean, when you tell stories like that one, it hammers home how important it is for us to have these conversations. And of course, this docu-series is a great place to start if you don't know where to start. OurHistoryTV.com is the website. That's where I want you to go. And who knows, I might organize a watch party and let a few of our friends here on Mornin Barbados watch together. And then we can share. I think that would be very interesting to see how people react to the series and then, of course, share that. So again, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to you coming back and sharing more with us about how things are shaping up for the Liberians coming en masse to Barbados next year.
Yes, we're excited. Thank you so much for having us, and we're here anytime.
All right, good stuff. Definitely things that you need to research. And talking of Barbadians traveling, moving across the globe, making their mark, our next guest is going to share a feel-good story with us that dates back to 1973. I feel like the Golden Girls coming on. Picture it. London, 1973. We're going to tell you more after this.
We shall not be moved. Oh, we shall not be moved. Let it go.
Today, we, the children of Lemongrass Street, tell the oral history of our ancestors with heartwarming details of our lives. To our distant Bajan cousins in the country of Barbados that our ancestors waved farewell to over 157 years ago, the good news is their descendants are survivors. We greet you with joy and happiness. Our ancestors can be proud of the collective accomplishments of their children. We may live thousands of miles around the world and away from Liberia, but wherever we go, we always tell people that we are from Coastville. We're from up the river, and what this tiny little place means to us. We, the children of Lemongrass Street, know our parents' story, and our parents knew their parents' story, and their parents knew the stories of their forefathers. We must not sit on the sidelines and allow others to create the narrative of our ancestors.
This is why we want to honor all of the families that traveled from Barbados to Liberia on the Cora, because all of them did not settle in Crozerville. May not all have been blood relatives, but in this journey across the Atlantic Ocean, they were one family seeking a new life.
We are the descendants telling our stories